Rori, thank you so much for being here. So we are on the heels of the scandal with Adam Levine texting while married with children with his pregnant supermodel wife, and his messages are completely inappropriate. Even for a single man, his game is lame. And
That's so true.
And also disrespectful. If you're on social media, it doesn't mean that you're looking to have people slide into your DMs and start objectifying you and making it, a sexualized tone. So you being a relationship expert, a matchmaker, looking for qualities in people that are considered, dateable, relationship material. What Adam Levine is demonstrating is far from relationship material, let alone husband material. And I would love to get your thoughts on this whole trend of sliding into DMs when you're married in a serious, exclusive, committed relationship, even liking plethoras of thirst trap models, male or female. Like, what does this all mean and how does it impact relationships? Loaded question there, Rori.
It is, and we have a lot to unpack here, Diana. But I have to say, when I do love social media and I do feel that it's really beneficial is when you have a brand, when you have a business, right? Something that you want to showcase to the world, whether it's in my business, whether it's relationship coaching, matchmaking. At least there's a certain amount that I can put on social media, but at the same time, I need to keep it very discreet. I can't start, talking about like my clients and who they are and showing photos, because that's really inappropriate. And that's like completely not like who we are, right? So whether you have like a pocketbook or an item or whatever, I think it's amazing for that. But I think that's where it begins and ends. I think that it's too easy and it's too accessible to step out of your relationship, by the way, with no accountability.
Yep.
Adam Levine is not, he's someone who's a superstar, right? He's so famous, everybody knows him. Someone who might not have an exposure or presence like that can feel like they can get away with it. The average Joe feels like he can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And he can make up a name. He can lie about who he is. His wife or either girlfriend, boyfriend will never find out. It's too easy with no accountability. So I find that social media in that way is the devil. Yeah. And it makes it like, and I said, listen, is there the, the kind of thought of to say, once a cheater, always a cheater. If someone's going to cheat, they're going to do it on social media. They're going to do it down the block. They're going to do it when they're away. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Does it have to be in you? Yes, I agree. But I think that it's made so easy. It's so easy. I've heard so many friends from the past say, oh, I got divorced, or I'm unhappy with my spouse. I'm going to look up my ex-boyfriend or girlfriend on Facebook. Right? Like, what are they up to? Kind of like want to see, do I still have it? Stroke the ego. No.
Wow.
Right? Like, it's so easy to do that. This computer is so easy. It's like, it has made things even like dating, like we say dating apps, right? It's like ordering a pizza sometimes. You can just like type in and just like all of a sudden have a person on the screen. It's crazy.
It also, see, I won't do dating apps just because I mean, for a multitude of reasons, I won't do them. And my feeling on it too is it takes people away from being people, from being an individual human being to being a choice on a menu.
Right.
And and I feel like people get desensitized because they're swiping left, they're swiping right, and they're not really thinking about someone behind that. Take all the safety issues aside.
Right.
And just what it is. It's kind of allowed people to think the grass is greener mentality.
Always.
And if you've been in anything, you know that the grass isn't greener. And even to be looking up your exes and seeing what they're up to, or old colleagues, and then putting your toe in the water to see if they'll bite. That's really playing with somebody's mind and heart, and not having, like you said, any accountability.
Diana, if you live by something, and I try to do this with everything, and especially in my, husband-wife relationship with my husband, is do unto others as you would like others to do unto you, right? Mm-hmm. So I know that if I'm gonna answer a guy who's going to reach out to me on Instagram or, something like that. And I say to my assistant all the time, Sarah, it says wife, mother. I don't understand, like what, like, and the rest, like, what is the guy not getting? Because I'm clearly not single, and I'm putting it out there that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's also the way that you portray yourself. If I'm going to sit there and be in a bathing suit picture, which I'm really not, okay, then it's either a story that disappears and I'm with my husband in the picture. So it's not like I'm trying to convey, hey, look at me, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, I'm someone who's going to be 50 and look how good I look. You know, that's like inappropriate. Like you have to also have good judgment to know, like, what am I putting out there? Because a single girl, like, or these single women that Adam Levine, let's say, was like, you know, reaching out to, I'm sure they were all like, I had seen like whether they're lingerie models or whatever. Okay, they're doing their thing, and like all power to you. If that's your business and you want to do that, okay. But I totally, like you said before, I would have a major problem with someone that I'm dating, no less, especially my husband, you know, always liking these people's photos. Listen, it's like almost like going through, like, men will be men in a sense, right? It's like almost going through a Playboy magazine, right? Or a fashion magazine. At these days, Vogue is the same thing as Playboy at this point. I mean, everybody's naked, right? So if you're going through the pages, okay, like, you know, we're all visual, that's okay. But the fact that when we're going through a magazine, we don't have direct contact with these models,
Yes.
right? Where on a phone, on an Instagram, you could direct message, the person could answer you or not, but it's almost like saying, why are you doing that?
Why are you doing that?
What good is coming out of this? So now what? So now you struck up a conversation with a single woman and you are clearly not single. What are we doing?
And then what are you doing? Where do you go into it? What is the need of yours? I mean, is it narcissistic personality disorder, which is an insatiable appetite for validation and will never be filled by one person?
But that's it. It's a million of those things, because if we're going to take Adam Levine and we're using him as our example, right, clearly the more famous someone becomes, do you know that the most famous people are the most insecure? Why? Because the minute they stop being stroked and loved and cheered for, they're like, oh, did I lose it? Am I aging? What happened to me? Like, you need that constant reassurance, where an average person would be okay from their mother, from their child, from their spouse, from their friends. Like, we're okay down on earth over here. Yeah. But something like that, you can see the proclivity where they can completely need the starvation for the attention and the validation.
Or someone who's always seen themselves on that pedestal or that higher place. Exactly. Even if they're a dentist, they might just see themselves in that way. I mean, I will be completely honest that I have broken up with people for their following and for their interaction. And it was like, okay, I see you're following this many women that, you know, and no judgment, these women, like you said, are allowed to do what they want to do. But some of these things, they were adult stars. Mm-hmm. And the pictures they were liking were very suggestive. Videos were very suggestive. And that wasn't the kind of person they were portraying to me in real life, of mm-hmm. what they would ever like or find acceptable or anything like that. So it was such a hypocrisy. And when I would mention it, the feedback would go, oh my God, come on. Who cares who I like? It's not a big deal. You're crazy. Or, you know,
you're not crazy, because I have to tell you something. It's funny that you brought this up, and I thought about this just the other day. Somebody posted something that was kind of funny, but a little bit like, I was like, you know what? I don't need to like this. I could take it in my mind, think it's funny, and that's it. I don't need to put my like on this, because it could be a little controversial, and I would really not want someone who knows me to think that I would like something like that, right? It was a little bit racy, a little bit whatever. I thought it was funny, but I was like, you know what? Someone doesn't need to see that I like this, because maybe it wouldn't showcase me in the best light.
Right. And that's funny you mentioned that, because I said it to this said person of my past. And I said, you know, would you want your colleagues to see these kinds of likes? It's not reflective of who you want to portray. And of course, it was responded with a lot of defensiveness and told that, you know, he doesn't even know who he's liking or why he's liking it. He just likes things and it's no big deal. And he just follows people. It's no big deal. And the relationship was over in 24 hours after that conversation, because there was no accountability. There was no change of behavior. It kept going. And to me, it was like, okay, we can have healthy boundaries and we can have a healthy, productive conversation of what's expected from one another.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
If the gentleman that you had that conversation with, Diana, would have said to you, you know what, Diana, I really didn't even think about it. You know what, you're right. If it's something that's going to be like inappropriate, I could see your points for sure. You know what? I'm all invested in you and to see where this relationship is going to go. Like, I don't even need to like deal with this nonsense.
Different outcome.
Right. So that's my question to you.
Different outcome. Then I would have said, okay, thank you. Moving forward, you're more mindful. You know what hurts me. You know what I expect of you. I certainly wouldn't do that to you. End of story. And we moved on. And then I would occasionally check and see if that behavior was still going on. And if it wasn't, then I would feel comfortable and confident in my choice to stay.
Right.
But, you know, you give people opportunities and they show their hands, and then you have the responsibility on yourself of, is that good enough for me?
Right. No,
So.
I completely agree. I needed to just ask that question.
Yeah, no, be a different outcome. In terms of even dating someone, so when you talk about dating apps, getting introduced maybe through a matchmaker, through friends, and everybody for the most part is on social media. When you look up someone and you see that they're following, let's just call them thirst trap accounts, and it's 90% all thirst trap, and then maybe 2% actual real life colleagues, friends, family, would that be a red flag to you? Would you say proceed with caution on that person?
Okay, so this is definitely becomes a little bit tricky, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people that I know have people who are social media managers that run their account. Okay. I have someone who does that for me. I mean, I like my own things. I comment on my own things. This person, he doesn't do any of that, and he's great. But I'm saying, imagine if you had someone who wasn't so great and was kind of like almost like being selfish for themselves, right? Like following these people, liking these people. So you never know how in control, and you need to find out when you are like dating someone, in a sense, like how into it they are. Sometimes like my husband rarely goes on social media. It's really not his thing. He doesn't have time. He gets entertained once in a while, but it's not something like I tell him, honey, why don't you ever like my stuff? He's like, oh, I didn't even see it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Funny,
Right.
like that he doesn't put that much thought into it, but find out who's running their social media. That's very important. And sometimes some men are just so not tech savvy. They think they're looking at a picture, and I've seen it before. They don't really post anything. They don't really whatever. You could tell who's really into it and who's not. And that's something you have to find out. Because we want to give them the benefit of the doubt in the beginning to find out, are they really this person that's liking all this junk?
Right. And if they are really that person behind it, then what do you say?
No, then I would say, first of all, you want to also know how someone treats you, which is very important. And then it's also having that conversation, because if you're into it a little bit, and even if you're on like a first, second, or third date, and like, let's say third date, right? You're a little more invested. Then I think it's cool to have a conversation in a very like, not saying I don't appreciate, because you really don't have the right to say that yet, right? You can just say like what's important to you and really hear their feedback. So do you have a chance to kind of like explain themselves? And if they're like, I don't really like, this is nonsense for me, it's entertainment, it's whatever, I don't really care about this. It's like, and I find, with social media, I think it is, and dating apps, I think it has made the world so much more of a trickier place.
Yes.
I think that when you meet people for face value and you really have eye contact and you really get to see for yourself, is there chemistry? Is this person who they are who they say they are? Like, I like the in-person. It's the same thing. I like to talk, to somebody over the phone or on Zoom, and like we could see each other and we could talk to each other and feel a person's like vibe. Yeah. Right. As opposed to texting. So I'm not that person. I like to be completely transparent. I like to put it all out there. So the person, whether it's, in my relationship with my husband or my friendships or business, like I like contact, that's my personality. And I feel that shows, a transparency. The problem is with dating apps, the ghosting and all that stuff. If you had to do that in person, Diana, people would feel embarrassed to go and to go and just like ghost people and ditch people and treat people like that. Like, I don't know, to me, I'm also into karma. I would feel uncomfortable, right? Like to go and treat someone that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a very tricky landscape. I think that's why I'm so hesitant to stay away from it, because I'm like, there's got to be somewhere in the middle organically of just being able to meet somebody somehow through a reference or wherever and feel, like you said, their energy and get a better sense, because I don't feel like you can get anything from this. Nothing real.
Yeah, no, I totally, like, I'm on your page, and that's why in my business I do what I do, because it's vetting and it's introductions and there's accountability, and you're going to know if the guy wants to see you again, or if and the guy's going to want to know if you want to see him again. So
Right.
at least, somebody, and listen, both people have skin in the game, right? So
That's true too.
that's important. It's an investment on both ends.
Right. That's why they even say with dating apps that you're better to be on the paid ones
Yes,
versus the free ones,
agreed.
because there's, like you said, skin in the game. What do you think?
Kind of skin.
Oh, nicely played. What do you make of Adam Levine's wife, who's very successful on her own? She has been seen with him since. I mean, in terms of couples, we've seen couples go through public cheating scandals, emotional, physical cheating scandals, infidelity, and be okay and get over it. What is your advice to someone who might be in that position where they found that their spouse was having these online DM interactions?
So it's very interesting that you're asking me that question, because my partner and I are in the midst of writing a book called The Art of Marriage. And
Ooh.
there are all different kinds of marriages out there. We don't know. The public doesn't know their arrangement, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have no clue what their story is, and if they're in an open marriage, if they're not, like, what this story, like, we just don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard for us to judge. Listen, I think that, yes, he's married to one of the most gorgeous women, right? Like, you're like, enough. What's wrong with this guy? But I have to say that right now we don't know if she's playing her cards right, meaning she's looking like the supportive wife, she's pregnant, who knows, like, what's going on. And by the way, I respect the way she's handling it, if she's handling it that way, because it's still the father of her two children, right? This is her third child. So what good is it going to come out for them and for the well-being and the mental well-being of their children and their future child, for her to be like bashing him in the public and doing all those kind of things? Like, she looks like elegant and classy, and some people would say, oh, well, maybe she's dumb. Like, why is she just like sitting there? You know what? We can't judge, because we don't know what goes on behind closed doors with two people.
Right.
That's where sometimes people get so, crazy and like start like becoming all judgmental. But we really don't know that. And maybe her plan is either she had a conversation with him, maybe she gave him a warning, maybe she's going to also write out this pregnancy, maybe she doesn't want to stress herself out as she is pregnant right now.
Yeah.
That's like a big deal.
It's a very big deal.
And we don't know what she's going to do once this baby's born and she's back to herself. Like, at the public, we're making these, judgments, and we have no idea. She has not said anything.
Right. And no one has the right to demand someone to leave or call someone a doormat because they decide to stay. Nobody really knows the dynamic. And I think it really comes down to, if people are dealing with this at home, how they want to handle it. And ultimately, they can have all the advice from all the experts, from their family, but they have to be the ones to make the decision for them and feel in their gut what the right thing is.
Right. Like, I believe, listen, in my book, we talk about like infidelity, right? And if a couple is going to work it out and not leave the marriage, on both ends, it's a job on both ends, both understanding, like, why did this happen, right? Why did this take place? Because it does take two. It really does. Either someone's being neglected in some respect, or someone's just a narcissist in the other respect. So no matter what you do, they're always going to be seeking for more validation and attention. But if you're getting help on that, and both people are emotionally checked in to fixing this, then I don't think that the person who was the one that stepped outside the marriage should be punished. For the rest of their life, it needs to be, hey, we're going to work this out. And, bringing this up and throwing this up in the person's face for the rest of their life is not sexy, right? It's not bring people together. So hopefully these two are either, working it out with a professional, because I think that's always the best way to go. And there's definitely accountability on that. And you know what? I've seen people come back from, infidelity in a successful way if both people really want to. And if the person who was, the person who stepped outside really is remorseful, really can own up to the fact that they really screwed up and hurt their other half, and vice versa. The people, a man can definitely feel, and I'm not trying to make it a male female thing, but either person can feel emotionally neglected. Why did they step outside? What happened? People get sick, things happen. And you know what? That's why I said, I'm not a judge. I don't want to be in their shoes. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm here to look at every side.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I thought it was interesting, your word choice. You said remorseful, because there's regret and then there's remorse. And I read this quote that said, be wary of the man who has regret and pay attention to the man who has remorse. The man with remorse means it fully, because there's accountability. Yeah. There's generally, regret is like, oh, I really caused myself a lot of stress and unnecessary headache. If she didn't find out, if he didn't find out, I would be in a better position. But remorse is like actually having accountability for your actions.
I think that's brilliant. It's a brilliant saying. And I think regret is more like selfish.
Yeah.
My mistake. What did I do? Remorse is more about the other person. Well, if I hurt you and I had your heart in my hand and I kind of crushed that, that's remorseful. And I'm sorry that I'll never do that again. That's someone really, and hopefully learning from like their mistake that they did that. And if something, on both ends, if it can be forgiven, listen, everyone always says you forgive, but you can't forget, right? When something's done to you that way, and I'm sure with, Bahati, right? That's her name, Adam's wife. I'm sure she will never forget. It's so public, but it's also knowing people are resilient. And sometimes, they look at the children as the higher power to say, well, you know what? I want by all costs to work this out because I have children and I am so invested that I don't want my children to grow up without a father. It just depends on the person's situation and their feeling.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. You always have such great wisdom and insight, and you're very empathetic and compassionate to all sides involved with all of this. So thank you again.
Thank you. I mean, we always try, and it's always so much fun chatting with you.
You too. Thank you, Rori. That was awesome, as always.